Wow, I'm just getting this one in. This is Melanie Jean Burke, and today is Evaluation Wednesday, and I still have 15 minutes, so I just made it. I have been working really diligently on my new pages, my new projects, and my new courses, and all that. So I'm having a lot of fun, and time goes by so quick. Which actually is what I wanted to talk to you about today. And so I'm talking kind of quiet, so obviously my kids are asleep, but what I what I'm thinking about today is evaluation. You know, a business owner evaluates their situation on a regular basis. They evaluate the profits, they evaluate what's going on with their teams, they evaluate the products they're selling, they evaluate the customers and the vendors and the relationships. They're constantly evaluating what's going on and making choices, at least the ones that are prepared. I can tell you, I have known a lot of them that struggle mastering that, which is one of the reasons why I have all these courses I'm doing. But having worked with them for so long, but what I want to get at is that the same thing applies to life. We need to evaluate life, and we need to do it on a regular basis, because often what times happens for us is we have something that's really important in our heart. It's extremely valuable in our heart. But if somebody on the outside were to look at our day, or if we were to measure our day, at the end, our actions don't match what we say is important. And so when a business owner has that same problem, they go down a path of sort of self-destruction, because the things that are important to them are not the things that are showing up for them, and so they go off track. And the same thing happens with your life. So I want to give you an example about how that might happen. I had an entrepreneur that I knew in my earlier years, and he was a young dad and a young entrepreneur, and he had here's where the disalignment matches up, and how the shock of what happens. He was able to make some quick changes, but so here's a young dad working 80 hours a week trying to get his business off the ground, and his son wanted to, he's playing baseball, I think it was, and so he had all these games, and the dad, I would, go in and work on some of their stuff, and I would say, do you want to get out of here? I know your son has a game. And he'd say, no, 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 I'll catch the next one. And you and I both know where this is going. So, I worked with them off and on a few times a month for quite some time, and I was aware that this was going on. So finally, when we were discussing the bottom line, he made approximately $100,000 that year. And so I said, I know that this is really important to you, and so let's do some math, just humor me. And so we took the $100,000 and we divided it by the number of hours he put in, and then we factored in overtime, and it turned out he was making about $5 an hour. And so when I said, every time you missed your son's game, you were basically trading $5 for this time with your son. And he just looked at me and he went, oh my goodness. And I said, surely there's something you can delegate or do differently to replace that $5. I mean, have somebody else. Yes, that's a monkey in the background. I'll tell you about that in a second. But so I was like, where can you cut back? Where can you delegate? I mean, seriously, And so what happened is we went through his whole day, and we went through his whole life plan. And he not only went through all his expenses, he found faster ways and cheaper ways to do his vendors. And I mean, he took it really serious, because when he realized the trade-off for his son, the time with his son, was $5, I mean, it was shocking to him. And I can tell you a happy story that next season he was at every single game, and he made twice as much money. So when we align what is really valuable with the actions that we take during the day, and we can make those, we have such clarity, and we make those decisions from a place of truth and authenticity, everybody wins. I mean, it's time after time after time, I see it again and again and again. So when you're looking at what is really important to you, let's take also a look at how does that matching up. I mean, is what you're investing and what's important to you actually manifesting what it is that's important to you. So a lot of times we get off track. So I look forward to every Wednesday. We're going to be talking about how to really look at what's important to you and to do milestones, checkpoints, and things like that to get you back on track. And just taking your honest money, to just take your gross wage and divide it by the number of real hours that you put in, including commuting and all that stuff, and then divide it by your total wage and factor in if you're on a salary job, your overtime, and if you're traveling, if you're a traveling person, you factor in all that and you divide it out. You'd be surprised at what you really make per hour, and what's the trade-off. So there's a lot to that. So I want you to look at that today and just think about it. And there's lots of things you can do to. Wednesday, I'm going to be talking about evaluations and how to evaluate your life, just like a business person would evaluate, their own entrepreneur adventure, or, their employee relationships, or whatever they're doing for whatever you're doing for your livelihood. I've made it. I got this in before midnight here. So, I want you to think about that. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about celebrating, because so often we don't celebrate our wins, and there's lots of ways to celebrate along the way. Little wins in life, big wins, and fun things. And yes, that is a Charlie the Chimp. It's one of those chimps with symbols. It's part of my coaching. I actually have a couple of props that make my clients laugh when we need a little break, and so anyway, I set it on top of my my curriculum, and it makes me laugh. It puts me in a good mood when I work with my clients. So anyway, that's where that's coming from. And so this was the quiet spot I could jump on here today. So have a wonderful I don't know where you are, but maybe you have some rest of the day today, depending on where you are in the world. But anyway, I will talk to you tomorrow. Good night.